Andrew Parker. Bowles did not divorce Camilla because of one dinner, one letter, one phone call, or one sudden royal betrayal. By March 1995, when the divorce was finalized, the marriage had already ended in almost every way except on paper. For 22 years, Andrew and Camilla had lived inside a world built on country houses. Horses, children, old friends, royal connections, careful manners, and secrets that everyone understood but few dared to say out loud. The real reason he let her go was painful and simple. The marriage no longer protected anyone. It did not protect Andrew from public humiliation. It did not protect Camilla from scandal. It did not protect Tom and Laura from whispers. It did not protect Charles from the truth. And it did not protect Diana from the loneliness that had already become impossible to hide. Andrew Parker. Bowles was not a helpless man, pushed aside by royal history. Born in 1939, he came from an old Catholic family with military roots and aristocratic connections. He became a cavalry officer, handsome, polished, charming, and completely at ease around horses, uniforms, dinner parties, and royal friends. Camilla Shand was born in 1947. She was not royal, but she belonged close enough to that world to understand its rules. She grew up with horses, dogs, country air, good manners, and social confidence. She was warm, direct, practical, and unusually good at making people relax. Camilla and Andrew met in the late 1960s. Their relationship was passionate, delayed on and off, full of attraction and frustration. Andrew had charm, but he also had a wandering eye. Women liked him, and he liked being liked. Around the same time, Camilla met Prince Charles. In the early 1970s, Charles was young, sensitive, romantic, and trapped inside a system that had planned his future before he had fully understood his own heart. But Charles was the heir to the throne. In that era, a prince did not simply marry the woman who made him happy. His future wife had to satisfy family church palace advisors, public expectation, and centuries of invisible pressure. Camilla was not considered the obvious future queen. She had a past, a personality, and a long attachment to Andrew Parker Bowles. In 1973, Charles left for Royal Navy service. While he was away, the old social machinery moved. Camilla and Andrew became engaged. When Charles returned, the woman who had made him laugh was promised to another man. On July 4, 1973, Camilla Shand married Andrew Parker Bowles at the Guards Chapel in London. Around 800 guests attended. There were uniforms, hats, royal faces, family pride, and the confident appearance of a perfect establishment match. The reception was held at St. James Palace. Andrew and Camilla began married life in the countryside, first at Bolhide Manor in Wiltshire, later at Middlewick House near Corsham. Their son Tom was born in 1974. Their daughter Laura followed in 1978. Andrew continued his army career and would eventually become a brigadier. Andrew did not become a different man because the wedding had been grand. The roving eye stayed. The hunger for admiration stayed. Camilla had not married a stranger. She knew he was complicated, and she married him anyway. Then Charles returned to the center of the story. In 1981, Prince Charles married Lady Diana Spencer at St. Paul's Cathedral. Diana was only 20. The wedding was watched by millions who believed they were seeing a fairy tale. Camilla attended as Mrs. Parker Bowles, an old friend of the prince, a wife, a mother, and a woman most of the public barely noticed. Charles and Diana were badly matched. Diana was young, vulnerable, and hungry for love. Charles was older, dutiful, pressured, and still emotionally tied to Camilla. The royal family hoped marriage would settle him. William was born in 1982. Harry was born in 1984. On paper, the royal marriage had done its historic job. The heirs existed. The line was secure. By the mid-1980s, the strain inside Charles and Diana's marriage was growing. Charles felt misunderstood and emotionally starved. Diana felt abandoned and humiliated. Camilla remained part of Charles' trusted circle. What could be called friendship at first became something far more dangerous. He knew Camilla. He knew Charles. He knew the old rules. He also knew himself. A man with his own history of affairs could not easily become a public moralist. He could feel wounded pride, irritation, resignation, and even guilt. But if he made a public scene, he would hurt Camilla, damage the children, embarrass the prince, and invite scrutiny of his own conduct. Silence was not weakness in Andrew Parker Bowless' world. It was control, it was armor, it was pride. By the late 1980s and early 1990s, that agreement was collapsing. The British press had changed. Royal unhappiness sold better than royal ceremony. Private pain became public entertainment. Books appeared. Tapes emerged. Friends became sources. Staff became witnesses. In 1989, according to Diana's later account, she confronted Camilla at a party and made clear that she knew what was going on. That moment showed the old code was breaking. Diana was not going to suffer quietly so that everyone else could remain comfortable. In 1992, Andrew Morton's book about Diana changed the royal landscape. It presented her as isolated, wounded, and betrayed. In December 1992, Charles and Diana formally separated. A private phone call between Charles and Camilla, recorded in 1989, was published in the press in 1993. The exposure was humiliating for Charles, devastating for Camilla, and degrading for Andrew. Andrew still did not explode. He gave no dramatic interview. He did not sell pen. He did not parade wounded masculinity. But by then, the marriage could not be saved by good manners. Andrew and Camilla were reportedly living largely separate lives. Their marriage had become formal before it became legal. They remained connected as parents and social companions, but no longer as a true couple. In 1994, Charles gave his television interview to Jonathan Dimbleby. He admitted he had been unfaithful after his marriage to Diana had broken down beyond repair. He did not name Camilla in the blunt way tabloids wanted, but no one needed a map. The heir to the throne had publicly acknowledged the conduct around which so much of Andrew's married life had been silently arranged. In January 1995, Andrew and Camilla announced their divorce. The language was careful. They had lived apart for some time. The marriage had broken down. There was no public savaging, no courtroom theater, no display of hatred, because staying married no longer protected the children. Because staying married no longer protected Camilla. Because staying married no longer protected Andrew's pride. Because Charles was not a passing flirtation. Because public scandal had destroyed discretion, and discretion had been the roof under which the marriage survived. That same year, Diana gave her famous interview to Martin Bashir. Her line about there being 3 people in her marriage became one of the most devastating sentences in modern royal history. It was simple, memorable, and emotionally true from her point of view. In 1996, Andrew married Rosemary Pittman. He did not build a public identity around being betrayed. He did not remain frozen at the edge of Camilla's life. He chose companionship, racing circles, friends, family, and a new private life. In August 1997, Diana died in Paris after a car crash in the Pont de l'Alma tunnel. She was 36. Her death transformed the entire story. Britain grieved. William and Harry, still boys, became the center of a mourning world. For Camilla, Diana's death was not liberation. It was a moral earthquake. The public anger toward her hardened. Any open future with Charles became almost unthinkable in the immediate aftermath. He knew Diana. He knew Charles. He knew Camilla. He knew how much of the public story was true, how much was simplified, and how much had been sharpened into cruelty. He also knew that adding words would help no one. Their mother was being attacked by the nation, but Andrew did not force them to choose sides. He did not cleanse himself by blackening Camilla. He did not turn the children into weapons. In January 1999, Charles and Camilla appeared together publicly after a birthday party for Camilla's sister Annabelle at the Ritz in London. It was not a grand royal moment. It was a careful step into daylight. The world saw what it already knew. A bitter former husband could have haunted every step of Camilla's return. Andrew did not. He remained civil. His civility gave the family room to breathe. Through the early 2000s, Camilla slowly became more visible. She attended events, supported charities, and learned the long work of public acceptance. She could never replace Diana. Her only path was usefulness. In 2002, Princess Margaret died in February. The Queen Mother died in March at the age of 101. The old royal world was passing. Charles' future could not remain unresolved forever. In February 2005, Charles and Camilla announced their engagement. The woman once hidden, blamed, mocked, and rejected by public feeling was going to marry the Prince of Wales. The wedding took place on April 9th, 2005 at the Guildhall in Windsor. It was a civil ceremony followed by a blessing at St. George's Chapel. The Queen did not attend the civil ceremony, but she attended the blessing and reception. Camilla became Duchess of Cornwall. She did not use the public title, Princess of Wales, because that title belonged emotionally to Diana. Her former husband was present as Camilla married the man whose place in her life had helped end their marriage. His attendants told Tom and Laura that their father would not turn their mother's wedding into a scene. It told Camilla that the shared past had not ended in hatred. It told Charles that Andrew would not use history as a weapon. After 2005, Camilla began the hard work of becoming useful inside the monarchy. She supported causes around literacy, domestic abuse, osteoporosis, animal welfare, and older people. She stood beside Charles at home and abroad. Slowly, the public temperature changed. Rosemary Parker Bowles died in 2010 after illness. Andrew became a widower, but he did not turn grief into theater. His children remained. Camilla remained part of his wider family world. In February 2022, Queen Elizabeth II made a decisive statement on the eve of the 70th anniversary of her accession. She said it was her sincere wish that Camilla would be known as Queen Consort when Charles became king. For Andrew, it must have carried strange echoes. The woman he had married in 1973, the woman whose relationship with Charles helped undo their marriage. The woman once mocked and blamed was now being prepared for the title of Queen Consort. In September 2022, Queen Charles became king the moment his mother died. Camilla became Queen Consort. The woman once treated as a threat to Charles' royal life now stood beside him at the beginning of his reign. On May 6, 2023, Charles was crowned king at Westminster Abbey, and Camilla was crowned beside him. 50 years after he married Camilla, he watched her crowned beside the man whose presence had helped undo that marriage. Yet his presence did not look like defeat. It looked like the continuation of the code he had followed for decades. Show up when family requires it. Do not embarrass the children. Do not feed the crowd. Do not turn private history into public revenge. At the coronation, Camilla's family was not hidden. Her grandson, Freddie Parker Bowles, served as one of her pages of honor, along with Gus Lopes, Lewis Lopes, and Arthur Elliott. They represented the life Camilla had before the crown. They represented Andrew too. She was Tom and Laura's mother. She was Andrew's former wife. She was Charles' partner. She was a grandmother. She was a woman whose private life had been dragged into public history and then folded into ceremony. He knew Camilla before the nation hated her, before it tolerated her, before it crowned her. He knew her warmth, her flaws, her stubbornness, her humor, her loyalty, and the damage around her. He also knew his own faults. He had not been a blameless husband. Andrew divorced Camilla because one betrayal had happened. He divorced her because the whole structure around the betrayal had collapsed. The private code stopped protecting the family. The marriage stopped protecting Andrew. It stopped protecting Camilla. It stopped protecting the children. It stopped shielding Charles. It stopped hiding Diana's humiliation.